Today I want to talk about how to find powder pockets created by the wind in Alta and SnowBird. The Little Cottonwood Canyon gets a lot of snow every year, but it also gets a lot of wind. So when there's wind, it will take snow from some places to the other. If you can find those deep wind pockets, you're gonna have a good day. Because the Little Cottonwood Canyon goes from west to east, so most of the time the wind comes from the west. A good rule of thumb is that you can find more snow on the west-facing slope. Because of this, the west-facing West Rustler is called by local West Buffler because it's such a good place to ski wind buff. And for the same reason, the backside of the Cirque, I had many incredible powder day there, either during a storm or after a storm. But my experience in a powder day last week shows that there are a lot of exceptions. That's what I want to talk about. Last week we had a day with a foot of snow falling overnight, but at the same time there's high wind. The mountaintop wind was 40 miles per hour with gusts over 70 miles per hour. I went the day after. The entire time I was thinking, where should I go? Because of the high wind, there's not going to be snow everywhere. Some places will be really deep and some places you're barely going to find any. My instinct is go to the west facing slope because normally the wind will load snow there. But interestingly, while I was waiting in lift line, my friends in Alta text me that West Rustler is horrible. There's full of ice. There's no snow at all. The Greenlee Bow in Alta ski great. That's the east-facing slope, the opposite of the west-facing. My hypothesis was maybe the wind is so strong. The snow didn't stay on the east-facing slope. It got blown over the ridge to the other side of the mountain. Therefore, the east-facing slope are good. So that's where I decided to go. When I hop off the lift, I went to Cirque. I drop off the first trail on the east side of the ridge, Great Scott. As I navigate through the rock, I was expecting some very deep powder because there was a foot of snow, and if there's more wind drift, I should get more than that. But unfortunately, there was no snow at all. I have to struggle on steep slope, no snow, and no visibility down the Great Scott. That was horrible. But strangely, halfway down the slope, I hit something soft. The powder was there. Somehow there was powder for the lower third of the trail, but there was no snow on the top 2/3 of snow. That was weird. Where is the snow? Next one, I hop on Cirque again, paying attention to both sides of ridge. As expected, the west side of ridge, very steep, gas chute, they look ugly. There was no snow at all. But as I look into the east side of ridge, there's nothing either. The mid-Cirque seems bare. So where did the snow go? But soon, we find out the answer. We get to the lower Cirque area near Glen. There was very steep snow. We drop in, gladly had a fantastic run. But why there's no snow at Great Scott, but plenty of snow at Glen? I hop on the Cirque for the third time, trying to ski some good snow again. Then as I get into the area, I figured it out. Because the wind was so strong, when it carried the snow over the ridge, it didn't drop down right away. It traveled further before the snow drop down onto the east-facing slope. That's why at Great Scott, there's no snow at the top, but there's plenty of snow at the bottom third of the slope. However, at the Glen, there's a bunch of trees at the top of the ridge. So as the wind pushed the snow over the ridge, it got slowed down by the trees. Therefore, it started to deposit it right away at Glens. That's why at Glen, we have great powder from top to finish. We went back to Glen. At the point, there were a couple of tracks at Glens, so we decided to traverse a little bit further to find some on-track snow. We were originally planned to go to ski down Tower 3. Normally, Tower 3 always have plenty of powder because people don't go there. But this time, we saw someone already got to Tower 3 and started skiing down. And from how he's skiing down, it doesn't seem to have a lot of powder there at all. So we went past Tower 3. We stopped at the next line, which is in between Tower 3 and Dalton Stroll. The snow looks great. It was on track, unlike Tower 3. As we thought about it, it was no surprise because unlike the area at Glen and Middle Cirque where there's a lot of trees at the ridgeline, there was no tree cover the ridgeline of Tower 3. Therefore, Tower 3 just looked like Great Scott. The wind carries snow further down the slope and you don't see them at all. However, the line next to Tower 3, before the Dalton Stroke, there were some trees, not a lot, but some trees. That's why we think there's plenty of snow. So we ski down that slope. It was a fantastic run. There's something I want to point out is that you can hear the crust at the top of the run. Right? The snow is not very deep. About 3-4 turns in, the sun disappear. That's because powder got really deep. Now this is because there were some trees, but not a ton of trees. We don't see powder from very top, and you lose part of snow at early on. But there were some trees, unlike Tower 3, so you do preserve some snow. So after that run, we decided to go to Dalton's Draw. Now Dalton's Draw is well protected by the trees on both sides, and it was a long traverse in no visibility, but as you would expect, that's a great run. So at that point, I think I figured out what's going on. When the wind is very mild, the west-facing slope will be favored because there will be more snow loaded on that side. When the wind is strong, it will blow the snow over the ridge. So you don't want to go to the west, you want to go to the east. That's where the snow is. When the wind is super strong, even the east side is not going to retain snow. You need to look for the east side. But in addition, you need some tree on the ridge to slow down the snow so that east side can be good. But before I wrap up my ski day, I had one question in my mind. What about the west-facing slope, but with tree cover? In this strong wind day, would those trees be enough to retain the snow? So after lunch, I went back to the Wilbur and skied down that run. The visibility was poor, so I didn't bother to take out my camera. The upper part of the trail, when it's well protected by the tree, the snow was actually good, not nearly as good as those eastern facing slope, also covered by the tree, but it's much better than the trail that was not covered by tree at all, that's facing west. So it's somewhere in between. It's okay, but as I ski down to the bottom half of that trail, it was bad. It was just bad as any other west-facing slope. So that was my day. Very interesting. I learned a lot about where to find snow based on how strong the wind is. I hope this is useful for those of you who also want to know where to find snow and why. If you like this, please leave a comment. Maybe I will make one of those videos in the future if the wind is blowing at a different direction or at a different speed. See you next time.